Hi, everybody, and welcome to this stream. In this stream, we are going to show you some cool testing techniques that we use in our projects and packages. And in a few minutes, my colleague Brent is going to join us because he's going to show some cool techniques as well. If you've been following us on Twitter, then you know that my colleague Brent and I that we are working hard on a new testing course called Testing Laravel, which will teach you how to test Laravel applications. So if you're new to testing, this is really the course for you. I still remember that I was testing forms by just submitting them over and over to see, is this change good? Is this change good? And of course, you can do this with automated testing. And in the course, we will show you how you can test almost any Laravel functionality. And a little spoiler, Laravel makes these things easy, but it's hard to get started with these things. So that's why we created the course. We're launching this course in September, it says here, and I got very good news. We did our estimations right, and we are going to launch it on the 1st of September, not the last of September. So we're well ahead on schedule. All the videos have been recorded. Brent and I are both doing some post-production now, taking care of some marketing stuff. So we will be ready. And in this course, we will have, I think, not 4 hours of video, but I think 6 or 7 hours even. We will cover both PEST and PHP units. So no matter which test runner will become the most popular in the future, we have got you covered. Now, before diving into our testing techniques themselves, we wanted to show you a little clip from the course, just to give you a little preview. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't catched it, the domain is testinglaravel.com. So let's start with taking a look at one of the movies that we have recorded, and this one is on how we test middlewares. So let me start this video, and we will be back with the live segment after the video ends in about 8 minutes or so. Enjoy this video. On our blog, we have a redirect functionality, so we can redirect old URLs to new ones. This can be pretty handy when we change the URL of one of our blog posts. Now, this redirection is handled in this middleware. And in this video, I'm going to show you 2 ways of testing this middleware. Let's first take a look at what it does. So we are going to parse the URL and get the path, so the piece after the domain. Then we are going to take a look in our database if there is a redirect for that URL. So this redirect, it is a eloquent model with just a from and a to property. If no redirect is found, then we're just going to continue as usual. And if a redirect is found, we are going to redirect to that. Okay, let's start writing our test. So our code lives in app HTTP middleware. So I'm going to create my test in a similar directory, like that. And this will be the redirect middleware test. So we are going to test this middleware in 2 ways. First way, we are going to test the middleware in isolation. Let's give it the function like that. And next, we are going to test the middleware in a full app. I'm going to put them both here so we can compare them later on. First, let's set up our world. We are going to create a redirect model. This one, it's a factory, and we are going to create one. And maybe we'll have the from is maybe just the homepage. And the to is perhaps the new homepage. Let's new up our middleware. So we are going to test this class without touching any other class. So redirect middleware. And our middleware doesn't have a constructor, only a handle method. So let's call that handle method. We should put in some braces here. Handle. We should give the handle method a request and a closure. And if you know middlewares a little bit, then you know that that closure should return a response. But first, let's add the request. And I've already created a little helper function here, create request. And it just creates a Symfony request first and makes a Laravel request from that. And as you can see, you can just add little helper functions that you need in the pest.php file. And these functions will be available in all your tests. So let's use that function now. Create requests. First, the method it's get. We are going to call the home page. And as a second argument, we should give in a closure that should return a response. And let's give it the Symfony response here. And this handle method will return a response of its own. And now we can make some expectations. So we expect the response is redirect to be true. Let's run this test and it passes. Let's try to break it by just removing this redirect, run it again, and then it fails because this response isn't a redirect anymore. Let's make it green again and it works. We can make it a little bit more specific by adding the URL to which we redirect here. So that is a new homepage. Let's run the test again. And it fails because this function expects a full URL, so containing the domain. And we can easily add that with the handy URL function. Let's test it again. And now it's green. And now to make this test a little bit more complete, we are also going to test it what should happen if there is no redirect. So let's copy some of the stuff here and expect is redirect to be false. And I made a mistake somewhere. I should type this here. Now we're good. So if we don't have a redirect, then we don't expect a redirect. And if we have a redirect, we expect it to be redirected. Let's test it. And of course, it passes. Okay, let's show the second way we can test this. So here we used the class directly, but here we are going to use our full application. The middleware that we are testing is being applied on each route of this application. Let me show you that. When we go to the HTTP kernel, you can see that this redirect middleware is in the web middleware group, which is used for most of the routes in this app. So what we could do is just call the homepage with the get function. And let's get the homepage. And here we could assert a status of 200, so we aren't redirected. Let's try it out. Yeah, our homepage works. But let's now create a redirect model. And here we could assert that we get redirected to the new homepage. Let's test it. And it works. Let's make it fail by removing that redirect. And now we don't get that redirection anymore. So yeah, these are two ways of testing a middleware. You might ask yourself, why would I ever test my middleware in isolation? It takes so much more code. There are actually a couple of good reasons why you want to test a middleware in isolation. Maybe if your middleware does more complex things, has side effects, and contains things that you want to mock, then you might have to new up your redirect middleware and pass in some of the mocks here. But if you don't need that, then I think this way of testing is much more readable. So let's remove this test. Let's also give it a more prettier name. It will perform the right redirects. Let me import everything. And let's make one more improvement here. Right now, we're using one of the actual routes in our application. And sometimes this might be fine. But imagine that your homepage or any other page that you're testing this has a couple of side effects on its own, or might be slow in getting a response. Well, in those cases, you can just register a new route from within your tests. And it's very easy to do so. you can just call the route facade here. And on it, you can call any of the routing functions that you're used to. So basically, you're doing just the same as in a regular route file. So here we can have a my test route, and let's make it a closure-based route. We are going to return a simple string OK. Now I can just use this route in my tests, and this should all still pass. And it doesn't, and it seems to be failing. Let me think. Yeah. If you create a route in your tests, then the web middleware group won't be applied. So we need to apply the redirect middleware ourselves. Let's do that now. Let's import it and let's run our test again. And it is still failing. Maybe it is because I forgot a slash here. Let's try it again. Yeah, that's it. Now our test is passing. So let's try breaking it by removing this middleware. It fails. Let's make it green again. Let's try to make it fail by removing this redirect. And it fails. Let's make it green again. And we're good. I think this is a pretty nice way of testing middlewares. Just create a route, apply the middleware on it, and call your application. Most of the middlewares can be tested in this way. So yeah, that is, let me remove my screen here. That is just a sample video from our course. And we got, I think, 6 or 7 hours recorded that have similar content like this one. If you want to know more, head over to testinglaravel.com. So now we're going to do something live. We are going to show you some cool things that we are doing in our projects and packages. And for that, let me bring on my colleague, Brent. Hey, Brent.
Hey, hello, everyone.
Good to have you on. I'm also a little bit curious as what you are going to show us. So
Yes.
without further ado, I'm going to share your screen on the stream. Are you ready?
Well, hang on, Frick. I just wanted to say something. I was almost laughing out loud when I watched the video, and you were like, and it's still failing. And there was this slight hint of desperation. And I think
Yeah.
we all know that feeling when we're writing tests. And
Yeah.
it's good to see that, to know these things happen. And it's just important to know how to debug those kinds of situations. So very nice.
Those situations where things are going wrong, I left those in the videos, but I left some thinking time out of it because you really don't want to have like a minute of silence there. But that hint of desperation you got from my voice that was formed, I guess, in the minute before that was cut out. But both the problem and the solution are still in the video.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'm ready to show what I wanted to show.
Yes.
So feel free to share my screen.
Yeah, there we go.
So the idea is that we're going to share just a few random samples of cool things that we've been testing. Frick, you have a couple of examples in real Laravel packages, and I've got 2 examples with me that are more like general packages, but there are some very important thoughts and ideas that I wanted to share with all of you. So this is actually a package that's private still. I'm working on it, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it. Just a very quick overview of what's going on here. If you're using reflection types in PHP, it can be a union type or a name type as of PHP 8. And it introduces some difficulties because a reflection type itself in PHP core doesn't have any support for to ask a simple question: does this type accept this input? And it turns out we do need to ask that question in a couple of our packages. And so I wanted to write a little abstraction for that. Just a simple class, the type class, that wraps reflection type, and that you can ask, do you accept this input, yes or no? Doesn't really matter whether it's a name type, a union type, or whether there's no type available. it works for all cases. So that's everything you need to know about what this package does.
And we're probably going to use it in a couple of our
Yeah,
own packages, right?
yeah, I've been
To
writing
make a
quite a lot
trial.
of. I've been repeating myself, writing the same code over and over again in some projects, in some of our packages, and I'm really sick of it. So what I really wanted to show you is how I'm testing all of this, because it's one simple question, right? Does this type accept this input? But there are quite a lot of types in PHP, and there are quite a lot of um, different inputs and outputs that you can expect. So there are two things I want to show you here. First of all, yeah, I'm using a generator, a data provider, and I prefer the yield syntax here. That's something we cover in the course as well. I don't really want to talk about that too much right now. But what's important is I was thinking about how am I going to make a reflection type that's the input to make assertions on, because if we scroll through this list here, there are quite a lot of options, combinations of type hints and inputs, and I really want to test all of those, right? And so yeah, I really only wanted to write these kinds of strings, but in PHP you cannot really do something like reflection type. Um, it doesn't take any inputs, and you do need a reflection class that gives a method that has a type,
Yeah.
which would be quite a lot of overhead if I needed to write the same code over and over again for all of this. And so with testing, and that's the thing I want to show in this example, I think it's really important to keep your end goal in mind. This is testing code, and you want it to be as easy as possible, so that you can write very clean and clear tests, especially if people after me are going to work in this code as well. And so I wanted to write this kind of string. Maybe some of you might have guessed it already. Let me scroll down a little bit. I have make type function, and what I'm going to do, inspired by Pest actually, and something you recently shared on another live stream with Nuno, I believe.
Yeah.
We're just going to eval some code, and the string that you saw, the type definition, is passed into this make type function here. We're going to eval some code. We're going to create an anonymous class. We're going to insert a definition into the test method here. And then we're going to create a new reflection class from this piece of evaluated code. Going to get the method, get parameters, which will in some cases return null, because we can also omit types, of course, in PHP. And then finally, we're going to return a new type that encapsulates that reflection type, which is this call over here. And yeah, I just wanted to share this code with you, because it shows how it's okay to do things like this, to create very eloquent and clear test suits like this.
Yeah, if
But
you would have put in here that entire class that you're now evaluating, it would be much more code and harder to see
yeah.
what you're actually wanting to test. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
like it.
this code isn't run in production, and I'm perfectly fine with using eval.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And yeah, I think if people would know, yeah, how many magic methods are run on each Laravel request and also by Pest itself, yeah, then they would be fine with it. I think, yeah, we've covered on another stream that eval is used whenever a Pest test is converted from Pest syntax to PHP unit. But even when you're using like something simple like a Laravel relation, some function like debug backtrace is being used to power some of the magic. So I think I think that's one of the nicer things of PHP, that it allows for that kind of meta programming a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's very helpful. It saves time. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm very glad with this.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. I guess that's everything you want to say about
Yeah.
that example, Brent. So I think we can continue to the next one. So I'll do a next one. Let me unshare your screen, do a little bit of screen management on my side, and share my screen. So I'm going to show you one of the tests in our backup package. So what our backup package basically does is it takes all the files of your application, it takes a dump of the database, it puts that in a zip, and it copies that zip to another destination, S3, yeah, or Dropbox, or any file system you would like. Now, after a while, you will have a lot of backups, and the package also has some functionality to clean that up. And that cleanup functionality, let me scroll a little bit down. We have the strategy here somewhere. It's not here. Did I already scroll over it? Let me look for cleanup. Cleanup, here it is. So we have a strategy to clean things up, and that's being handled by this class. And the strategy that we use is the grandfather father son scheme. And that's a little bit of a handful or a mouthful to say, but it's actually a very simple scheme. It basically says that we keep all the backups for a certain amount of days. Then we will only keep one backup per day for an amount of days. Then we will only keep one backup per week for an amount of weeks. The same for months, the same for years. That's what it does. And the class that does it is the default strategy class. So here we have delete all backups. We can calculate the date ranges, and somewhere here, yeah, we have some nifty things to just delete them all. And the thing is, yeah, how would this kind of code be tested? And let me go you to the test, and this is the clean command test. I actually don't have a test for the default strategy class itself, but I have a test for the clean command that will call this strategy. So let me go to the test here. And what we basically do here is creating an environment where we have where we have like a year's worth, or actually 3 years worth of backups. So we are going to have a collection that contains 1,000 items. Then we are going to map over them, and for each item in the collection, we are going to subtract an amount of days. So in the first iteration, I'm 1 day in the past. For the second iteration, I'm 2 days in the past. And for each day, we are going to create a backup zip with nothing in it really, and we are going to create a second zip that is 2 hours later. So when this code is being executed, yeah, we will have created 2,000 empty backups. What we are going to do now then is we are going to partition everything that we got back, because this returns a flat map of the array we created here. So this will be an item in the array, this will be an item in the array, and these things will basically be paths to the backup. So that collection of backup paths, we are going to partition it, and I've put here the ones that we expect that they remain. You should also see that in the test file itself, we put the date here. So I can say, hey, the backup of this test, of the backup of this date should remain. And you can see that we use a nifty syntax here. We partition, and then we get the two arrays here: expected remaining backups, expected deleted backups. So this one contains all the parts of the backups that should remain after I've cleaned up, and these ones, they should have been deleted. They can't be on the file system anymore. Let's scroll a little bit down, and these are actually quite some paths that we have here, but I basically don't mind that, because yeah, these are actually the ones that I expect that are there, and there's basically no nice way of or readable way of putting it in another way as this. This is just a list is the most simple way. So with those two arrays available, we are going to actually execute that command, the backup clean command. We are going to assert that the exit code is 0. And let me show you something that I learned. So with if you have like response codes like 200, we all know that you can use Symfony response here to get a more nicer version of the response code. Well, you have that for commands as well. So I've been using 0 here up until I learned this trick. You can have on command console, you also have success here, which is slightly more readable than 0, which is a little bit off-putting if you don't know that 0 is actually a success code in Unix. So this is nicer, I think. So we are going to call our artisan command, and then we're basically going to call these assertion methods on our disk. So in the start, I guess maybe it's in the test case itself. Somewhere I've called disk fake, but I can't see it anywhere. But this is a fake disk, and we are going to just assert that all the remaining backups exist and all the missing ones, yeah, they shouldn't be there anymore. So every path in this should be missing. And the point that I want to make with this test is that, yeah, even you have this class which is called deep in the package and contains a lot of functions. It's actually sometimes more easier to just mimic how it will be used in reality. You just have a bunch of files. You just call the command and you see what is remaining, without actually knowing anything about the implementation here. I think this is pretty nice because if I wanted to refactor the package and do some entirely other way of going about this, then I could just refactor it and just see if the tests are the same. So I kind of like this approach. Just mimic the reality, and yeah, that can be the easiest way. What do you think, Brent?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, over abstractions and complex solutions, trying to generate a list of things that should work. Uh, it seems like, first of all, there are going to be bugs in your implementation to test it, so you're going to have to test your tests. And coming, imagine that I have to make some changes here. It's very easy and clear, and we really need to keep that in mind, that the goal of our tests is to ensure that our code works.
Yeah,
And yeah, this gives a lot of value for very little effort.
yeah. I think the hardest part was to see which backups should actually remain. But
Yeah,
once I
yeah,
had that, the rest of the test isn't that much. And if I wanted to make this a little bit more clear, I could have probably just put this somewhere in another variable or something so you could see the
yeah.
entire test. That's maybe some refactor that I'll make.
Mhm.
Okay, that is everything that I wanted to say about this one. So maybe we can go back to a example that you want to show.
Yeah, yeah, it's already here. You can share my screen. And Steve just called my code very sexy. Thank you, Steve. I try my best.
And I see also now that we're addressing the comments a little bit. Adrian said something as well. You can pass the command class instead of a string. Yeah, indeed, Adrian, you can do that. That test was actually written before you could do that. If you saw the dates, that test was already written in 2016. But I'll refactor that. That's a good tip. Thanks.
Good. I'm here in our period package. Maybe some of you use it. It's a package that deals with date ranges and time ranges and precision. And let me scroll down here. There are quite a lot of methods and things you can do with it. And over here, you can see a visual representation of what several methods do, and what the expected result is if you use it. And I just made this to hopefully clarify it a little bit what the package does. We're going to our tests here. I've actually kind of used the same syntax in our tests. Again, a data provider here. And this is a test that will check boundaries for subtracting periods. Implementation doesn't really matter, but I really wanted to make sure that every case here in my data provider has some kind of documentation and notation about what this test does, and it's simple comments, but this has proven very useful when getting pull requests on the package. I really ask everyone to keep this notation, this standard mathematical range notation.
Is that something really mathematical? This?
A square bracket means the edge is included. A round bracket means the edge isn't. And yeah, of course, the length here normally you would write something like this, for
Yeah.
example, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't really visualize how the overlaps work.
Yeah.
So, and
I
these
thought
tests,
that I thought that you came up with that.
no,
I thought it was very clever.
no. These tests, I actually think, I'm not sure if this is correct here. I need to check that, but these tests are important. Yeah, it is correct, I think. They are important because, well, it's actually not correct. It should be this. Anyway, you really want to know how the boundaries align here. So you need some kind of visual representation. But what I think is important here is that documentation in your tests is equally important as the tests themselves in some cases. And I've used this technique throughout the whole package here. Let me show you another test case. For example, over here, the gap test. You can see there's always a bit of documentation, and it's not useful just when writing the test, but also when doing maintenance a year after having written it. And our test suite has actually become some kind of technical documentation for maintainers. And I think that's one of the nice added benefits of having a good and well documented test suite is that it actually clarifies what you want to do.
Yeah, I think it's just the same as like production code. You should optimize for humans there,
Yeah.
and your test should be as readable as production code, because probably you or somebody else is going to read it a lot later.
Yeah, and definitely with open source packages where
Yeah.
tons of people are contributing. So yeah, that was my second example.
Yeah, pretty nice, pretty nice. Okay, let me switch up and unshare your screen. And I got another little example, but I need to do, or no, it's just, you can see me manage Windows, no problem. So we're still here in the backup package. I should have been not as lazy and not only listen to you, but already preparing for the next one. Laravel Artisan Dispatchable. Yeah, there's a good, nice thing in there as well. So I'm going to show you how I test this package. But before actually going over to the test, let's first explain what this package does. Let's just go over to GitHub so you don't have to read Markdown, but beautifully rendered HTML. So what this package will allow you to do is to dispatch Laravel jobs via Artisan. So if you have a job, process podcast, then you can add this this interface to it, Artisan Dispatchable, and then you can execute it via Artisan. So PHP Artisan, and we create this name dynamically, process podcast. Now, why do you want to do this? In your scheduler, you want to keep things as simple as possible, and or as quickly as possible. And sure enough, you could have background tasks. But it's sometimes nice to have like it as a regular command, um, or you want to have yeah, a command that finishes very quickly, and then you can create a job inside that command. So the command just finishes quickly while, and after that the job will be running. But sometimes you want not to have to create that command class, which will be basically just a wrapper for a job class. And then I think this is very handy. Also, in cases where yeah you have important jobs in your project that you maybe want to execute via Tinker or something, this allows it to be executed via Tinker. So it's pretty neat. Let's go over to some of these tests here. So let's see the basic test job. That's what, or this is the job itself, the integration test. Yeah, this is the one that I wanted to see. So here, this test, it can handle a job immediately. You can see that it is pretty simple. We are just going to call artisan basic test. We are going to assert that this command was successful. Let's change it here as well. Um, and you can see that in the setup method, we already said that the discoverable jobs should be in the jobs directory. And that is this directory here. So these jobs will be discoverable. We have basic test job in here. And here we have an assertion in this test that will assert if that job was handled. In a normal Laravel application, if you want to know if a job was handled or not, you would do something with the bus fake, or you would do something with the queue fake and then see if it was handled. But this package will schedule those jobs or execute those jobs in an entirely different way. They won't be put on the queue, so we can't use those fake methods. So I needed a good method to see if this job was actually executed, and I've found a pretty simple way to do this. So if I go to basic test job, you can see that it extends base test job. So all of these extend base test job. And let's see what is in that handled method. So whenever this code is executed, we are going to call handle job on the test case itself. So test case, that is my base test case. And you can see that we call handle job, and we just set the job on the test case itself. And if I go back to my integration test, if we see assert job handled here, then it will just assert if the instance of my expected class is equal to the one that was set statically on the test case. So I still remember when I was writing this test suite that I wanted to use some kind of side effect in the job, maybe writing something to the log and then testing if there was something written to the log. But just setting something statically on the test case is much more elegant because there's nothing to clean up after. The one thing that should be done to clean everything up in memory is in our test case. If we scroll a little bit up, with each test that we call, we set that handle job back to null. Otherwise, we'll have strange things happening because we set a property statically. So that is this little approach. I wanted to show you that you can make use of the test case itself and some basic PHP principles just to make something that seems hard to test pretty easy, because you can call things statically and make some assertions on that if you wanted to. Now I wouldn't do this in some kind of production code. But I think it's fine to use such techniques in tests if it's easily discoverable what it does. But I think in this case, it's fine. What do you think, Brent, about this one?
Yeah, I've done the same. But I sometimes create some kind of dedicated state class that just keeps track of whatever you want in memory across in your test suite. So yeah, I
Cool,
think it's a
cool.
good solution.
I think we have some time for one more, I think.
Mhm.
You had two, right? So
Yeah, it's all yours.
it's all mine. Okay, so
So more
let's
window management now.
yeah, but it's not a lot of management. Here we are already. So this is maybe a traditional technique, I'd say, that I'm going to show here. So this is the Ray package. For people that don't know Ray, it's an amazing application. I might be a little bit biased, that can help you test an application. So instead of having all of your testing output in your terminal or in your browser, you can send it to this little window, and we have a lot of little helper functions to help you test something. Where's Ray? Here. And how Ray works basically is that it sends an HTTP request from your application to the desktop application. And of course, in our Ray test suite, we must determine if every function is sending the right um, requests to the desktop application. Now, of course, we don't want to depend on the desktop application actually running in our test, so we want to make use of something that is faked. So here's how we do it. So if you call something like this with Ray, you just pass something to Ray, then under the hood, the Ray class is being used, and will automatically inject some settings, the client, and a UID. And you can see that in our test, we already are using a fake UID for our Ray instance, and we pass it a certain client. And in the production code, it will be the real HTTP client, but in our tests, we have our fake client here. So by injecting this, we can control what is happening when things should be sent to the array instance. And instead of sending an actual HTTP request to the desktop application, the fake client will actually just put all of the requests inside of an array, so we can expect it later. So the send functionality, yeah, it's a lot of code here, but what it basically does is setting all the properties of the request to that little array. These things are basically things we need to do to make all the random things that can be in the payload that we send um, we want to convert the random things to not not random things. So sometimes we send a symphony dump to Ray. It has something that is very random. Here we just replace it by access, so we get the same result each time. So let me go back to Ray test. If we now send A to Ray, what we are going to do is we are going to get our fake client, and we are going to ask for those sent payloads. We are going to use a snapshot here. I'm not going to go over what a snapshot is in full detail. There is a video on that in our course. But what it basically will do is it will try to see if the variable given here matches what we already have written in a previous test. That's being done here, and that is basically how that works. So we just write everything that we would usually send to array to a fake client, and we are going to compare that to a file that contains what we expected that was to be sent. So pretty simple. Again, I think it's if you have a class that you want to test that has some side effect, just isolate those side effects in a separate class. In this case, the fake client, so you can have a class that just overrides all the side effects with a thing that you can easily test. So I think this is more of a traditional example, but it's nice that you can, yeah, do it in this context here. What do you think, Brent?
Yeah, it's a good example. And actually, this is why dependency injection is such a powerful pattern. The
Yeah,
idea of injecting a dependency into a class and
yeah,
allowing you to swap those dependencies based on your needs,
yeah.
it's very good, and it makes testing very easy.
Yeah, I think this is why people say that some classes are testable and some are harder to test. If
Yeah.
you've written your code well and all your dependencies are injectable, it will be much more easier
Mhm.
to test because you can change the behavior from the outside. I think
Yeah.
we have a couple of videos on that as well, right? On
Yeah,
mocking that stuff.
definitely.
Yeah,
And that's the key part, changing it from the outside. You can do all this with static methods and static state across objects, but you need to accommodate for that functionality within the class itself instead of just being able to inject things from within your test suite,
yeah,
which makes it so that your production code is actually containing code that's there just to accommodate tests, which is, well, in best case just overhead, in the worst case maybe a possible area for bugs to appear. So
yeah,
yeah.
indeed. Okay, Brent, I think that we're at the end of everything that we want to say, unless you're coming up with another technique that you want to show right now. And I think
No,
we're
no, I
good.
think we're good. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, let's. I've already done the window management this time, so let me
uh,
bring it on my screen one more time to put our course back into view.
yeah.
So yeah, we're almost ready with this course. It'll show you, yeah, some of these techniques, but in the beginning we'll focus more on getting people started with tests. Even if you don't haven't written any test before, this course can help you. Yeah,
Mhm.
I've had a lot of fun recording those videos, and I hope you had too, Brent. I know you do.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I tweeted about this morning, but we have more than 70 videos. It's
yeah,
crazy.
it's become a little bit bigger than
Yeah,
we thought it would be, right?
yeah,
I think that we started out with some basic ideas, and then we had like
hmm,
uh, uh, that Google Drive sheet where we
yeah,
just put on the ideas, and the ideas just kept on coming. So
yeah. Yeah, I
yeah,
think it will be a very, very good resource for people to get into testing, but also to learn, yeah, lots of new things. So I'm
yeah.
looking forward to what everyone thinks about it next
Yeah,
week.
yeah, me too, me too. So yeah, you already said it, Brent. We're going to launch it next week. I've already said it in the beginning of the stream. On the 1st of September, we are going to launch this. We are going to, I think tomorrow, send out another sample. So if you want to see that, just yeah, subscribe yourself here. We have something other cool about this course that we haven't shared yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe Brent, you can share that already.
I
It's
was
all
I was
going.
going to mention it, but not say what it's about. But I can do it
Yeah,
for everyone who's in the stream here. We're
yeah,
going to It's going to be a week long mini course for everyone to just follow for free. It's an email newsletter like I've done with the Road to PHP recently,
yeah,
and you can just leave your email address. You won't get spent with anything else, and you'll get a testing tip, one per day for a week, and you can decide what you want to do with that on
yeah.
your own. So yeah,
And I can imagine that, yeah, after our course is launched, we'll hopefully get some feedback from people, and I can imagine us, yeah, creating some more videos
yeah,
for people that have more questions, and also add some more mails
yeah,
to that
mhm,
mailing to that drip campaign. So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, by the way, maybe something important to mention as well is the Q&A here listed at the very bottom.
yeah,
I'm very much looking forward to that as well. We're going to
yeah.
do a live stream, right, and going to answer the questions of people who follow the course.
Yeah, indeed. And we're going to do that, I think, yeah, it says here a month after the course has
Yeah,
launched. So people have some time to watch the course and send us the question. And then we're going to answer those questions
yeah,
for everybody.
mhm,
There's also another stream I want to mention since we're almost at the end here. There's also a stream here from Just Steve King, who's in the audience with us. So check out that one as well. At the end of this day, there will be another PEST meetup, and Luke Downing is going to show you something amazing that is coming to PEST. So be sure to visit the stream as well. And in a couple of days, I'll also do a stream on converting an existing PHP unit test suite to PEST. And let me spoil it for you, it isn't that hard to do. But I think a lot of people see it like this is a hurdle, but actually you can do it in a couple of minutes. The stream is an hour long, but maybe I'm already done after 10 minutes. We'll see. So yeah, visit that one as well. I think that we've said everything that we want to say, Brent. Is there
yeah.
something that you want to share, or have I got forgotten something here?
No, I think we covered it all.
Okay, then we're all good. I want to thank everybody for watching, and yeah, we'll see you in the next stream. Bye bye, everybody. Bye, Brent.
Bye. Bye.